Psychologist and lecturer Dr. Umar Johnson has proven to become quite the controversial figure over the past 5 to 6 years. Whether or not you agree with him, you must admit that he says many things that leaves you thinking. We caught up with the very popular lecturer right here in Washington, D.C. after he spoke at the Thurgood Marshall Center. We picked his brains about his recent controversial appearance on the Roland Martin show in which he spoke out against interracial dating. We also spoke with him about his thoughts concerning the Trump presidency, African Americans in politics, and what he feels the African American community should be focused on next. Now, Dr. Johnson, we just, right the day after you had appeared on Roland Martin show, we spoke with Lauren Burke. We interviewed her. We want to know, first of all, that debate between you and her, that heated exchange, it seemed to have ignited once you mentioned the whole interracial dating and marriage thing. Why do you feel so many black folk get very upset when they hear another black person say that black people should be married to black people? What do you think that's about, you being a psychologist?
I would say the first reason is due to the fact that we are in love with integration. Black people have been in a 152-year-old struggle to get accepted by their oppressor. So we want to be accepted by white folk. And we see interracial marriage as one of the most effective means of bringing about that amalgamation. So that's number one. Number two, with the presidency of Barack Obama, we have been drafted into an illusion of inclusion mindset that basically says America is post-racial and colorblind, despite all the evidence to the contrary. And because we love being asleep within this myth of a America that accepts black people, we don't want anyone to wake us up to the reality that we are, in fact, not Americans, nor will we ever be. And so basically what I did was I scratched a very delicate and insecure place within the black psyche by demanding that black men need to be with black women. It's something that we don't want to hear, although we need to hear it because we've been asleep too long on the integrationist Kool-Aid.
Now, of course, Roland had brought up a very interesting point, and I'm going to have to ask you this because other folks have asked this. How would you respond to, of course, as was mentioned, Frederick Douglass, but more modern, prominent black figures such as Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier, who have felt very obligated to help the black community, but they have white wives. What is your thoughts on that? When someone would say, well, how do you respond to them? Because you...
Well, as I told Roland, I didn't say I couldn't respect them, but I said I would have a difficult time respecting them, meaning I would need to hear each brother's argument. But to be honest with you, even in the end, I think it would be still difficult for me to respect a black man who settles down with a black woman but claims to be committed to our struggle. It's an oxymoron. You can't be for Team A and be married to Team B. It just doesn't make sense. When you marry a white woman, you invest in her, you commit to her, but not only her, you commit to her community, her family, and her legacy. So it's still a contradiction. Frederick Douglass also has to be held accountable, but I wouldn't put him in the same category as a Harry Belafonte, a Sidney Poitier, a Vernon Jordan, because Frederick Douglass' history of struggle is a lot more rich, deep, and long-lasting than theirs. Frederick Douglass married that white woman. He was an old man. His first wife, Queen Mother Annie Murray Douglass, a blue, black, purple, chocolate, nappy-headed woman from whom all of Frederick Douglass's 5 children were born, it wasn't until after she died, while he was an old man, that he married a white woman, which is something people don't discuss. But he must still be criticized on those grounds.
And finally, we're witnessing a very interesting administration in the White House. And we've heard people such as Michael Eric Dyson, he has said that what we see now is white supremacy on steroids. How do you assess the Trump presidency, and where do you feel black folk politically should go from this point on?
Well, I think every presidential administration has been white supremacy on steroids, especially Barack Obama's, where nothing was done for black people, and even black people validated the presidential neglect of Barack Obama by making absolutely no demands of him. So we can't say, anyone with intelligence, that the Obama administration was somehow progressive for black folks and the Trump one is not. All 45 presidents of American history haven't ignored black people. Here's the situation. 3 things we got to do if we're going to survive this century. Number 1, we got to have an economic revolution, a total revolution where we divest of all non-African institutions, corporations, businesses, and systems and invest in ourselves. It can't be a boycott. A boycott says, I'm going to stop shopping until you treat me better. We don't need that. We need a divestment. All the money stays with us. That's number one. Economic revolution. Number two, you got to have a psychological revolution. Black people have to be sold back to themselves, as Marcus Garvey said. We have to reawaken the sleeping consciousness of African people towards a commitment to themselves. We're committed to everything but ourselves. Homosexuality, multiculturalism, women's rights, feminism, this, that, that. Where's the black agenda? Where's the black imperative? Where's the black mandate? That's what we need to do. And number three, we have to properly educate our children. Black children right now, this millennial generation, is the most lost generation of black people ever. And the only way we're going to save them is if we create a revolutionary African pedagogy along with a revolutionary African curriculum. If black people do not win the war of the 21st century, there may be no black people in America after the 21st century.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Johnson. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, brother.
This is our wrap session, in which we speak to our interviewees at the end of every interview and get their thoughts about certain issues of the day. We also allow them to use this time to give us a plug or to give you a plug about what they're currently doing.
2018 midterm elections are going to be coming up next year. You got any thoughts on that?
My thoughts on the 2018 midterm election is real simple. Black people need to start asking the elected representatives the right questions, because we're not asking. We keep asking these open-ended questions. What are you going to do for us? We can't be general. We got to be specific. What are you going to do to increase black people's access to wealth in their communities? It is our lack of access to wealth that keeps us trailing every other race for political economic infrastructure. We need the billion-dollar loans. We need the million-dollar loans. We need the $100,000 loans. We're not getting them. Chinese are, Arabs are, East Indians are, Latinos are, Mexicans are, Jews are. We're not. So how is the black candidate going to help black people access wealth in large quantity? Number two, what are you going to do to reduce, control, and eliminate the white take-back of the black community? The gentrification is in full swing. We're dealing with an ethnic cleansing of black people from the inner cities of America. What are our black elected officials going to do about stopping the white land grab in the black ghetto? That's number two. Number three, what are you going to do systematically to reduce the high prison rate of African American men and women? Okay? What are you going to do to stop our brothers and sisters from having to commit crime so they go to jail in the first place? What are you going to do about the unfair sentencing disparities on the state level as well as on the federal level? And then also for our children, what are you going to do to promote community control of the public schools, blame black male teachers, black male principals, and do something about the dismally high rates of special ed, ADHD, and black male exposure? If I don't get positive answers to those questions, I will not be casting a vote for anybody.
Lastly, I want you, Justine Damon, the white lady killed in Minneapolis.
Right.
Same state that Philando Castile was murdered in. Seems like there's...
What did they do with the brother in that case? Was he arrested?
Talking about the officer?
Yes.
No, actually he got off. He was found not guilty.
Of killing the white lady?
Oh no, you're talking about the white officer.
Right, I'm talking about the new case, the white woman.
So right now it's still pending. Right
so
now.
He wasn't arrested yet?
No.
Okay. They want to hang him. They want to crucify him. They may very well do it, but here's the thing. Because all legal decisions are based on precedent, if you let off all these white cops for doing the same thing, you may have to let him off. And if you hang him, you now just establish a new precedent for subsequent murders of blacks by white police to be handled the same way you handled this black man for killing this white woman. So they really between a rock and a hard place. They got to decide how we're going to do this now. Right. Are we going to follow precedent or do we establish a new precedent? But in the end, white supremacy is still going to rule. Because if they don't get him in court, they'll get him another way, just like OJ. There's more than one way to skin a Negro.
This concludes this edition of Right and Exact. If you like, you can follow me on Twitter at Dashawn Farad or at Facebook, Dashawn Farad. We thank you for joining us. We hope that you join us again soon. Have an excellent day. Hotep.